Nation, it's time to stand up.
Hey, just one time, I need it. Raiders.
Third down and a long one. Jacobs back in the game. The rookie for the touchdown.
Snap of the gun. He's sacked. He is going down. Max Crosby. Pass on the slant, complete for a wide.
3. And welcome everybody to another glorious episode of the On Waivers Podcast NFL show. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here, beautiful night out here. A little later than usual for Ryan and ourselves, but you got to do what we got to do to get it done here on the On Waivers NFL podcast. RTPOW podcast is my Twitter handle. And Ryan, what's yours?
It's rhome22.
You can catch us on Twitter, Instagram, IGTV, Facebook, YouTube, all those good stuff. We appreciate everybody liking and subscribing to that stuff. So do it on, iTunes, all those different platforms. It really helps us out a lot. 858-429-9465 is the text line. I got a couple questions off the text line about the NFL draft, so hopefully we can get to those. And then thanks to the folks who are listening to our show in Tallahassee, Florida, Cleveland, Ohio, Hawaii, San Diego, California, and Compton, California. USC is probably the most popular college football team in Compton, California, so we'll start there. And one of their prodigal sons, I guess, if you will, Sam Darnold, got traded today. And it continues this trend here of first round picks moving on to a different team, never signing a second contract with the team they got drafted with Sam Darnold going to the Panthers here. Panthers got the player without having to mortgage a whole lot in their future. Ryan, seems like a pretty good deal for the Panthers here. And he has some upside and they have some good offensive talent.
Yeah, it's a good deal for the Panthers because they're giving up a 6th round pick this year. That's the only pick from the 2021 draft, and then a couple of picks from next year. I believe it was a 2nd and a 4th, but his salary is going to kick in. They're going to have to pick up that 5th-year option in May. So he's going to have a guaranteed salary next year. I'm almost positive they're going to pick that up. And it's basically a 2-year window with Sam Darnold. This is not going to prevent them from drafting a quarterback at 8
Nope.
if he falls to them.
Nope.
I think Teddy Bridgewater might be in trouble here. He might be traded or released here. I don't know if they can keep him on the salary he has as a backup. But it's a good spot. He's reunited, obviously, with Robbie Anderson down there in Carolina, who he had with the Jets. He's familiar with him. They're going to add weapons in the draft. They could get a Kyle Pitts or even another wide receiver if one of those, if Waddle's there or Smith or even Chase. DJ Moore is a good wide receiver. He's got McCaffrey in the backfield. So the weapons there are a lot better in Carolina than they were in New Jersey when he was up there with the Jets.
Yeah, I have no question about it. And I think that he's going to benefit from Adam Gase in his ear opposed to Joe Brady in his ear. So, I mean, that was just I really don't understand, knowing Peyton Manning, how good he is. How he and Adam Gase hit it off, I have no idea. It's just like a weird dynamic, odd couple. That should be like a series on ESPN Plus or something like that. Because it makes no sense.
We need a 30 for 30.
Yeah,
30 for 30.
I think I need one. Ian Thomas is a tight end there. So obviously, if they have opportunity to go get Pitts, who looks like the real deal at tight end, it seems like he would be a guy who would fit right in. To kind of fill out everything. Do they, Moulton is the right tackle, looks like. Cam Irvin, the left tackle. Do you feel like maybe offensive line could be something that they look at as well to kind of get that jumpstart that offense a little bit?
Absolutely. You could see them. I don't think quarterback's out of the picture here, but if they do decide to use not draft a quarterback, I don't think they're going to go defense. Last year they went defense with every one of their picks. So I think you're looking at either wide receiver, but they're going to have a chance. Slater should be there at 8. Sewell could drop to 8, or they could reach on another tackle or even trade down and recoup some of their picks. So they're in a good spot to add offensive playmakers to this team to help out Darnold.
So there is I'm trying to remember his last name. I think his name is Dickerson, the offensive lineman from Alabama.
Yeah, Landon Dickerson.
Landon Dickerson. All I hear is good talent, ridiculously versatile, can put all those different put him a bunch of different places on the offensive line. He played a lot of different positions on the offensive line at Alabama. Is it like, I mean, everybody seems to have him as a second or third round pick. Is it crazy for him to go in the first round? Like, I mean, because he could play so many different positions and do so many different things for your football team.
I think it's crazy if we're talking at 8. I
No,
could
no, no,
definitely
not
see him
eight, not
sliding
eight, not second round. I'm talking about a little later in the first round.
Yeah, definitely. He's in play probably from about 23, 24 on at the back end of the first round.
Yeah.
Because he could play center, both interior spots. I don't think he's going to be a tackle at the next level, but if you can add a Pro Bowl player to the inside as a guard or a center, he could fit in a number of places. I've seen him anywhere from Kansas City at the end of the first round to somewhere from the early to mid second. So I don't think he gets past probably pick 50. He's a top 50 pick in this draft, even with the injury.
So as far as, we talked about Brady and, going from Gates to Brady here. A lot of the reason why Brady's not at LSU anymore is because of the success that he had with Joe Burrow. Do you see any Burrowish, ability in Darnold, or they're just two polar opposite, quarterbacks? I know ball security is one of the biggest things that you have to worry about with Sam Darnold.
Yeah, Darnold, it's, following him back at his USC days, which you probably did, it was turnovers and decision-making at times were mind-boggling. The natural talent's there. He has arm talent. He can make all the throws. He's mobile. He can get out of pressure situations. You can roll him out. He can make some wild plays, and he did it with the Jets.
You can do bootleg stuff. You can do a lot of different things with him. So,
yeah, I think he's a little different though from Joe Burrow, who is a really good athlete that has a lot more ability inside the pocket to navigate it, get away from pressure, and get yards up the field. You don't see a lot of that with Darnold. It's more just escape the pressure to make a throw. And it's going to be interesting to see what Brady does there. I think, like we said, the weapons he's going to have with the Panthers, especially with a healthy McCaffrey in the backfield, are night and day from what he had with the Jets.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like a fluid situation here because you have you have two Moores, you have Anderson. If they're able to, if Thomas, who is a talented tight end, gets things going, and then you have McCaffrey there as well. It looks like a really good football. Look like they could potentially be a good football team. But if you go by PFF, he was the 35th ranked quarterback out of 38. It's really difficult to analyze a player like Sam Darnold right now in his career, right? Because he is on a team that was just putrid.
Yeah, the line sucked. They didn't protect him. They didn't have weapons. They let Robbie Anderson walk in free agency last year, which didn't make any sense. His best weapon was Jamison Crowder. I mean, that's who he was throwing to, and that was basically it. They had Chris Herndon, who they thought was going to be an emerging tight end. Didn't happen. They had Le'Veon Bell. That didn't work out. They didn't have much in the backfield once he was gone. So it's really tough to evaluate him. And he's only 23 years old. He's a young kid. When he left USC, he was only 20. So he has 3 years of experience in this league. Obviously, what this trade tells me is Carolina thought that he was better than what they could potentially get at 8 quarterback-wise, whether that was Mac Jones, Trey Lance, or Justin Fields. One of those guys is probably going to be on the board at 8. 4 of them probably won't. One of them probably will. And they felt more comfortable to go this route and acquire Sam Darnold.
And maybe for them as well, Ryan, when you look at, and we're going to talk about the 49ers and what they gave up to move up. When you look at what the 49ers gave up for an unknown player, did they say to themselves, listen, Tepper and Matt Rules had just said, listen, we can't give up that. We can't get to that point where we're giving up that much for a quarterback. Let's just get a quarterback where if he was in this draft, he'd be still in the mix except for everybody except for Lawrence, and then take our chances with it 2 years and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, to give up what San Francisco gave up to go from 12 to 3, I think, going from 8 to 3, it's going to be something similar. It would have cost them 3 ones to go from 8 to 3. And they probably sat back and thought, you know what, we're better off going with Darnold in that case, because you don't know clearly who's going to be there. At this point, it looks like Wilson's going to go 2, Lawrence is going to go 1.
Yeah.
So San Francisco knows what they have to choose at 3, and they're comfortable with it. They're comfortable with either Fields, Lance, or Jones, whichever guy they go with. What this trade also tells me is I'm sure Carolina made some calls to Atlanta about the 4th pick, and Atlanta hung up the phone. Atlanta wasn't interested in trading that pick to Carolina, so Carolina jumped at the opportunity to get Darnold. Because after Darnold, there's not much out there unless you think Garoppolo is going to get released or you're going to go with Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, if I'm the Chicago Bears, I'm kicking myself. I would have gladly given up what Carolina gave up to get Darnold rather than sign Andy Dalton.
Yeah, I don't know if Ryan Pace is going to win Executive of the Year this year. I mean, and then the slow leak of information about, hey, we tried our best. We tried our best to get Russell Wilson. That was weak.
Go look what Ryan Pace has done at quarterback. He gave a bunch of money to Mike Glennon.
Yes.
He drafted Trubisky ahead of Watson and Mahomes.
Yeah.
Then he then he went out and got Nick Foles, and now he went out and got Andy Dalton. So in a span of about 4 or 5 years, those are the 4 quarterbacks. I don't know how he keeps his job after this year.
Hey, but they got Khalil. Let's too bad he can't play in the center. So let's go to San Francisco really quick because I'm interested about this team is interesting for a lot of reasons. And as I go through like the PFF stuff, like, I mean, you know, Ayuk and Deebo Samuel, they have high rankings. They have the fullback, Juszczyk, speedster, Mostert, you know, Kittle. They were riddled with injuries last year. Offensive line should be pretty good this year. One of the reasons why they didn't want Garoppolo back is because they felt like he could have played through the injury that he had last year, and he did not play during that time period. I think that one of the underlying questions is the head coach. He's 29 and 35 in his career. Is the Super Bowl year an outlier, or is that what he really is as a head coach? Just been some dumb luck around the other seasons. What are your thoughts about Kyle Shanahan? Is he, because people, I'm not sure where I stand with him, but people are kind of put him in that genius kind of, like, you know, when the offense fails, it's the quarterback, not him. He calls basically a perfect game he's the catcher who calls a perfect game every time behind the plate. Like, what are your thoughts about Kyle Shanahan? Is he kind of a guy who's just really overrated as a head coach?
I put Kyle Shanahan in the top 10 head coaches in the league. I think his offensive scheme is great. He does a lot with very little as far as talent in the backfield. It doesn't matter who you plug in. You can plug in Jeff Wilson, Mostert, like you said. They've had a ton of guys back there that have produced.
Similar to his dad. His dad was the same way. That was the same way.
And he hasn't really, and he took the Falcons to the Super Bowl, and they were if the defense doesn't collapse in that game, they would have won the Super Bowl. So I think he can definitely scheme up the offense. Mm-hmm. He doesn't take a ton of shots downfield, but they do a ton of play action off that wide zone running game, and it's tough to defend. And he can get the ball in the hands of his playmakers. He needs a guy, quarterback, that can be a little bit more mobile and just make better decisions than Jimmy Garoppolo did, because his accuracy, even in the Super Bowl, if you go back to when they were there, wasn't very good. I believe in Kyle Shanahan and his offense.
I mean, he did call the play where, you know, right after the Chiefs scored, a good pass hits, you know, Emmanuel Sanders in the breadbasket, and that's a touchdown to maybe win the game. They go from where they were to the 3rd pick in the draft. They give up a 12th. I mean, they switched to go to 12. They have a third round pick, and they gave up 2022, 2023.
23.
So a lot of picks here for the Niners given up. And this is something where, like, you know, could they really do all this for Mac Jones? I mean, is that really a possibility that they would really do this for Mac Jones? This has to be. I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking in my head, like, maybe it is, maybe it's not. I know his love affair with Kirk Cousins. He talked about that very openly, how much he liked Kirk Cousins. You know, could Mac Jones just be Matt Leinart? Like, you know, I mean, yo, a loaded roster. He's throwing balls all over the place. I mean, people are just, you know, before the season, nobody talked about Mac Jones. Now everybody's talking about Mac Jones like he's Tom Brady. What are your thoughts about, like, this pick and then you see all these quarterbacks not going, not working out, getting traded. Wentz got traded, Darnold got traded. Your thoughts about this move for the Niners?
So this is an interesting one. I think that Kyle Shanahan looked at his roster and realized how good the defense is and the guys that he's going to have to pay. And him and John Lynch sat down and said, we need a quarterback on a rookie deal so we can pay these defenders and keep this team together as long as we can, which to me is what you have to do in the NFL nowadays. If you don't have an elite quarterback, don't pay him $35 million a year. Go get a rookie and build the rest of the team up around it. To go up to 3 and give up what they gave up, I don't think Mac Jones is the guy. You hear a lot of it. I don't give up that kind of collateral and assets to go get a guy who's going to be a game manager who could do just enough to win the game for you. I don't think he's a difference maker. To me, he's the 5th best quarterback of this group. I don't think you do it for Trey Lance. You see a lot of people think it's Trey Lance. I'm not trading all that for a small school guy that has 20 starts, and he's thrown the ball over 20 times, 8 times in his career. He's thrown 20 passes or more in 8 games. So I don't think
sounds
it's
like
either.
A top 5 pick to me.
To me, it's Justin Fields.
It has to be.
To me, that's the only guy that I think you give up what they gave up to go get. He was right there with Trevor Lawrence in high school as far as the top quarterback. He's an elite athlete. He's going to be able to get in that offense. He's made big throws in big games. He can throw the ball
great
down the
against Clemson.
Field. Yeah. Now, is he a finished product? No, but he could be a difference maker and be a top 5 to 10 quarterback in the league. And with that defense, could take them to win a championship. I don't think the other 2 guys can. So to me, hands down, this is for Justin Fields. I may be completely wrong here, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I could actually see Lance a little bit, but I just don't, because he could just go off the crazy upside and just try to, make dumb things down to the point, because a lot of screen stuff he does, a lot of, misdirection, like, he treats Deebo Samuel like a running back a lot of the time as well. So they could do a lot of cool things there. But yeah, Mac, I think that just smoke screen stuff. I cannot see them doing all the way up there for that. Like that's kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy.
No, I don't see it. I mean, even if you hit on him and he is Kirk Cousins worth 3 number 1s? I don't think so.
No, because I think if they called Minnesota right now and they were going to Minnesota would say, hey, we'll take 3 1s for Kirk Cousins right now. You can have that salary and take it from there as far as that goes. I'm hearing a lot of stuff about the Falcons, trying to trade out of that spot, that 4 spot. I really feel like this is like, I think if I'm the head coach of that team, I don't play a game here. Like you're not going to be in the top 4 or 5 again. If he does just a decent job of coaching that football team, they're going to be in the teens or the 20s, right? In my opinion. Mm-hmm. So like, I know they're not in a situation as far as cap goes, but they have a pretty talented team. At least offensively. Why not just Lance can just sit? I mean, like maybe they don't like him. I don't know. Or Matt Jones can sit. Like one of those guys can sit and let Matt Ryan go for a couple more seasons before they actually get in there. Kind of the old school traditional way of bringing up a quarterback, and then you take it from there. What are your thoughts about Atlanta and should they go with a quarterback or should they just go with the best player available?
I'm on the train. They need to take a quarterback because Matt Ryan, even if he has another 2 years in him, they need to go that way. They're not winning anything the next 2 years. Tampa Bay is still the head and shoulders above them in that division. They went out and re-signed everyone. Mm-hmm. You have a chance to compete a little bit with New Orleans. We don't know what New Orleans is going to look like without Drew Brees, but they still have a talented roster. So I think they need to go get the quarterback. And if you ask me which one of these guys fits Arthur Smith's scheme coming from Tennessee, I think Mac Jones is a fit there. I think he does fit that scheme. It's a very heavy play action scheme.
Football.
Where he's going to be throwing the ball into looks where he's going to have advantages. And he has Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. He's going to have the numbers and they're going to make it work. But to do that, they need a running game, not named Todd Gurley. So they're going to have to get a running back in there at some point. But I think Mac Jones is a better fit there than Trey Lance.
Yeah. Just checking out some of the Falcons. I know they lost. I know they lost Alex Mack last year, so we have to see how they're gonna deal with that on the offensive line. Kind of see what they have next. Um, that's all right. Look like it could be all right there. But listen, I mean, it's that division has a lot of pass rushers, especially in Tampa. So we'll have to see what they do there. But I definitely would not. And I mean, this Jones is a guy who just doesn't. I mean, the guy who's really number one on this team is Ridley, and Ridley has been really kind of surprised me about how well he. I mean, he's just a you just close your eyes and the guy just finishes routes. He makes plays and he's a goal line. I mean, he's a red zone target. Gets a lot of touchdowns. I mean, was really a solid player for the Falcons there. Let's roll to so another deal that was made was the Eagles and the Dolphins. So the Dolphins get the sixth pick, the Eagles the 12th. So the Eagles were definitely trying to go. Were the Eagles trying to go up to get Wilson at quarterback, or what was the deal with the Eagles? I have no idea what the Eagles were doing. As far as I mean, that's what I heard that they were trying to go up and try to. And when they realized they couldn't do it, and nobody would budge, they wanted to kind of take a seat back as far as flipping spots.
This will surprise me. So they picked up an extra one next year from the Dolphins to move back, but by moving from 6 to 12, they just basically cost themselves a chance at Kyle Pitts, the playmakers, basically. So they're not going to get Pitts. They're not going to get. They probably won't get Smith. They're definitely not getting Chase, and they're probably not getting Waddle. So, which is exactly what they need with Jalen Hurts with a young quarterback, is to give him weapons, or even bolster the offensive line. They're probably not going to get a chance to take Slater or Sewell either. So they must be targeting a defensive player that they think will be there at 12. And maybe because of COVID and everything that happened with this college football season, they feel better off getting an extra one next year.
Yeah.
Maybe they think we're going to roll with Jalen Hurts, and if he's not the answer, we have 2 ones and we can move up next year to get a quarterback. But how do you know if Jalen Hurts isn't the guy if you don't put weapons around it? So I think they should have stayed at 6 and taken Pitts or Chase or Smith, one of those guys. But clearly they're going another direction.
The Dolphins, nobody talks about this, and it's to me it's kind of interesting in that they're certain. I mean, like, we don't know what Tua's going to be. I'm not big on Tua, but we'll see what happens with Tua this year. I'm sure with all their picks, they're going to give him every opportunity to be really good. But Tannehill has been pretty good with the Titans, and if they kind of just held the fort with him, that would have been. That team would have been good to go as far as like at the quarterback position. I know it's different offense, different situation, but and listen, having Henry in the backfield where it's just heavy play action and running. But even when he's had to throw the football, he has done a pretty good job. Was that in retrospect, was that a mistake, or just like you said, just build the team as you have the rookie quarterback and take it from there?
I think Adam Gase is the answer to that question, who we touched on earlier. They couldn't evaluate Ryan Tannehill when Adam Gase was the coach calling the plays. He's looked night and day better. And again, it's the weapons. He has Derrick Henry. He had Corey Davis. He had A.J. Brown. He had Johnny Smith. He had a decent offensive line with Taylor Llewell in there. So, I don't think they could. Brian Flores was going to come in there and they were just going to go into it with Ryan Tannehill and just keep him, because he had a decent contract and they traded him for a 4th round pick. So I want to say the Dolphins gave him a second contract. They traded him while he was on that contract towards the end of it. So they wanted to go another route. The interesting thing with moving from 3 to 6 is I think they're going to take the same player at 6 they could have got at 3. So I actually like the trade to move down to 12 and then back up to 6, because now they're still going to be able to get Pitts, Chase, or Smith. They're going to get one of those 3 guys.
Yeah. William Jackson, I guess it went to the Washington football team. Yes, I said it right. Whew, God, I've been messing up on that big time. And he had a lot of choice words for the Bengal organization. Do you see anything different here where, like, because I like Burrow. I really do. I mean, I think I like his moxie. I like the way he played last year. We'll see if he's able to come back from that injury. But what are your thoughts about, like, are they ever going to spend money, do the things they have to do to really win, retain their talent? I mean, letting go of letting go of Carl Lawson just seemed like silly to me, and giving it to an unproven commodity and Hendricks. What are your thoughts about the Bengals here and kind of the things that William Jackson said? Obviously, he's just happy to be on a team that is serious about winning.
Yeah, it's an organizational philosophy with Mike Brown. There is they don't spend a lot of money in free agency. They don't bolster the roster. They kind of hold their coaches and players to their contracts. They don't even let coaches really go out and interview for other jobs unless their contracts are expired. I've heard the same thing with scouts that they have there. So they do everything they can to keep everything in house. And so even
trapped. You're trapped if you.
Yeah, basically that's what happens in Cincinnati, and then they're not winning. So you have a culture there that's not very good. And then, like you said, they let Carl Lawson basically walk for $5 million less than what they gave to Hendrickson, who they could have kept. Yeah. They traded Dunlap last year. Geno Atkins, they let go of him. They didn't keep him around.
Still a free agent.
You can go down the line. Corey Dillon, years ago, they let go. I think Carl Pickens got let go at one point. William Jackson just wanted out. He wanted to go to a better situation. I don't know if Washington is a better situation, but they're building that defense, so he's got a chance. And then you're always in a division with Cincinnati where they're trying to compete with Baltimore and Pittsburgh, and now Cleveland's on the up and up. So Cincinnati is going to be in the cellar there for a while, even if Joe Burrow turns out to be a pretty good player, until they build everything up around him. But then they have to retain those pieces.
Yep. The Denver Broncos here are sitting at 9 in this draft, and we'll do a mock draft the week before the week of the draft here on the Put On Waivers NFL show. Your thoughts about they can't sit here and just let everybody get quarterbacks. I mean, they got to take a swing here. I mean, I would think that was the ultimate swing by San Francisco. I mean, that was a big swing. I mean, because as you see, like I trust the play calling ability. I think he and his father basically run the Niners. John Lynch is just the Mike Mayock of the Niners. He's no question about it. And maybe he'll get everything going in the right direction. My thought process is with it is, Locke can't be. He can't just be the starter next year without a competition. They would have, even if it's Teddy Bridgewater or, Garoppolo, they got to do something at quarterback, right?
That's what we thought. But clearly they haven't been in on a lot of these
none
free
of
agent
them
quarterbacks. You haven't heard them linked to anybody.
Yes.
And Drew Lock did not play well last year. And they have a lot of weapons on that offense that they need to get the ball to. So I don't know at 9 if they're gonna have to move up and get in front of Carolina, because Carolina could trade out of that pick now. If they don't want to go quarterback, teams are going to call and try to get in front of Denver. And like I said, I think the first 4 picks in this draft are all quarterbacks. So that leaves you with one quarterback, or in the second round, you hope maybe a Kellen Mond or a Davis Mills or someone and try to take them and battle them. But if you're going to go the quarterback route, you might as well try to get the best one you can.
You like Trask? You like Trask?
I don't, to be honest with you. So, I mean, in the second round, I don't know. I don't know if he's better than Drew Lock.
Yeah.
So Drew Lock, it's all about decision-making and turnovers. And he's got arm talent. He can make all the throws. It's just, what does he do under pressure?
Not a terrible athlete.
Some of the decisions he makes aren't very good. He's a young player. He was only in his second year, but there's a reason why he fell into I think he went 41st, somewhere in the 40s.
Yeah.
In that draft. There's a reason for that. After being talked up as a first rounder and then playing in the Senior Bowl, the NFL decided he was a second rounder, not a first rounder. But I don't know what Denver's doing. John Elway's taken a million swings at quarterback, hasn't hit on any of them other than Peyton Manning. And now he's just sitting there with Drew Lock. And he's in a division with Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, and Derek Carr.
So, I mean, it's funny you say that, because I definitely it just shows you how difficult it is to kind of hit on that position. Because one of the greatest of all time he's swinging and missing. And swinging and missing all day and all night. And he was just fortunate that Peyton Manning came to Denver and squeezed a championship out of him. As far as that goes, Garoppolo finding a home for him. Listen, if I'm them, they can carry that salary. So if they really needed to, so to me, it's like, if you want them, I want a one. Like you might not. I'm crazy like that. Why? I mean, like if you're New England, are you really going to war with Cam? As Brady wins another one, like making you look silly. Denver, you sure you don't want to give up a one for that? I mean, give me a one next year for Garoppolo. I mean, I know I am probably on left field and whatever, but I'm saying like I'm just gonna say, hey, like I'm gonna hold on to it until hold on to that pick until hold on to him until it's only March. Why not just hang on to him? I'm not gonna rush and trade him.
The issue you're going to run into is a salary. None of these teams can take on a $25 million salary right now. So no one's giving up a one, especially teams that have $25 million in cap room. With the cap going down, it's almost impossible for someone to trade from at this point, unless you're someone that has that kind of cap room, which I want to say there's like 3 or 4 teams in the entire league that have that kind of room. Yeah. And to me, if I was San Francisco, I'd ask for a 2, and I'd probably take a 3, depending on if I really believe the quarterback that I just traded the 3 first-round picks for is that good.
Oh, they better believe that.
He's not sitting on the bench behind Jimmy Garoppolo.
No, he's not. I'm interested to see because like as every day passes, like that just gets harder and harder to move them, right? It just gets harder, and I mean, like and I guess the Patriots are really just gonna just sit here. I mean, they might draft a quarterback, but like they're gonna sit there and do this, right, with Cam and those new weapons.
Looks that way. They spent a lot of money on free agency, and they didn't upgrade the quarterback position.
Yeah, I know. I don't, and that's kind of nuts to me as far as that goes. We did get a question from 860 out there in Connecticut. What do you think the Dolphins will do in the draft? The Dolphins have the 6th pick and the 18th pick. They can do a lot of different things. They can go a lot of different ways. I think it's all about weapons. I mean, it's just about weapons. I think especially at 6. I don't know how you think, but I think it's wide receiver. I think it's wide receiver. And if Pitts is there, maybe Pitts. They need to get as many weapons as possible because they pick Tua, and Tua has to come through.
Yeah, I think it's as much as Tua probably wants Smith. I would have Chase and Pitts over Smith. So I think it's one of those 2 guys. I think it's Chase or Pitts, whichever one's there. And then at 18, I think they go right back to the well, and I think Najee Harris is in play there. I think they go running back if there's one they really like there, or they try to bolster the offensive line. So they just need to keep building the offensive pieces. If they take Pitts, then you could take a receiver at 18 if one of those guys falls to them.
Could they trade back for Najee Harris? You want to take a running back at 18? Because I think I'm just speaking out loud as far as that goes.
I mean, if you can, absolutely, you trade into the late 20s and try to pick up another 2nd or 3rd round pick. But I think they definitely need to bolster the running game. I don't think you can go into next season with Ahmed as their running back and think they're okay there. So. But there's a lot of guys they can still go out on the free agent market and sign to. There's some running backs out there still.
Yeah, one more. We got from 718 talking about he wants to know about the Cowboys at 10. Biggest need for the Cowboys at 10.
To me, it's offensive line. Yeah. You have to protect Dak Prescott. You have weapons. You have a running back. You have a $40 million quarterback. You have a decimated offensive line. I know they need defense, but you protect Dak Prescott first and foremost, because we saw what happens when he's not on the field.
Scoring could be the way. I mean, I like defense more than offense as far as like, for this team in a lot of ways, but like scoring could be the way to win that division. If you score points in that division, because I think Washington is going to be offensively challenged. I don't know if I trust the quarterback in New York. So like if you can score points on these defenses out there in the NFC East, I think that would be probably the best way of going forward. And hopefully your defense is playing from ahead maybe that'll work out as well. Anything else you want to go before we go silver lining? Couple minutes. What do you want to attack in the draft or the NFL news over the last week?
No, I'm just aware that Tampa Bay, it surprises me. They're working magic to bring everyone back there, and I fully expect Antonio Brown's going to be back there too. So hats off to Jason Light and Bruce Arians to be able to bring the band back. I didn't think they were going to be able to do it, but they found a way to do it, and that's going to be a tough team to beat next year.
They really are. They really are. The first team in forever to bring back all 22 starters, right? Like that's pretty impressive.
Once Fournette comes back, yeah. Well, I guess Ronald Jones is technically the starter.
Technically the starter. But yeah, that's kind of crazy. So that was the NFL stuff, and we'll get more into the draft. As the weeks keep coming, and then we definitely thank you for your questions, and keep those coming. We got some more that I couldn't get to, but I gotta have the silver lining. Silver lining is where we take the NFL show and transform it into the sort of the Raiders here as far as that goes.